Hello everyone and welcome to this month's episode of JigRetro, where we'll be looking into my personal top 10 PlayStation 1 titles, as well as some honourable mentions and some games that I have so much nostalgia for that I just have to mention them in this video. If you enjoy this content, then please take a moment out of your time to like and share, as well as possibly subscribe to get the latest monthly episodes as they're released. The release of the Sony PlayStation was a massive deal when I was younger, and it was also possibly my most played console of all of the systems. The graphics from the 2D 16-bit generation to the 32-bit mostly polygon 3D generation felt absolutely huge. And I feel that there was a general feeling of console gaming finally pulling away from arcade gaming with better graphics, sound and gameplay. Nowadays, the jaggy early 3D polygon games can look pretty horrific when compared to beautiful 2D sprite animation from the 16-bit systems. This may be the reason that this generation doesn't particularly get too much love on my channel here, but here it is, my top 10 PlayStation 1 games. I am open to anyone suggesting any other games down in the comment section below, because I'm happy to check them out. But this is my own personal top 10, therefore I can't really be wrong. I'll be sticking to the one game per series rule for this video. Number 10, Quake 2. This game may have come out pretty late in the system's life and pretty late compared to the PC release of the same game, but this game rocked my world for a good while back in the day. The deathmatch was fantastic fun and the single player was a fun romp. In quite a full genre of first person shooters for the system, I would say that this is the best in its genre and was as close as PlayStation owners got to the market leading GoldenEye for the N64. Number 9, Gran Turismo. This game took over my life until its completion, from the driving tests to slow motion races in your first few crummy cars to putting your Dodge Viper through the car wash to get all the reflective graphics on your racing replays, and finally the epic long endurance races near the end of the game. This is the one on this console that had me hooked. I never thought I'd ever see graphics better than this. Technically, the second in the series is better than this one, but not for me. I am all about the original in the series. Eight, Crash Bandicoot. Many feel that the third in the Crash Bandicoot series would deserve this spot, but this is the one I played most and it's the one that I have most nostalgia for. I remember seeing this running in a local Toys R Us in the early days of the PlayStation's life cycle, and I was pretty much mesmerised. I have fond memories of sharing lives and levels with a close buddy of mine, and the level variety such as side-scrolling, third person, running from rolling boulders Indiana Jones style to riding a wild boar. The bosses are also relatively simple and fun, and was brilliant and kept you coming back for more and more. Seven, Tony Hawk's 2. This series came out at the perfect time for me, pretty much at the height of my skateboarding and video game enthusiasm. Tony Hawk's 2 is my favourite game from the series, and I played through it until I had unlocked everything it had to offer, including Spider-Man. The key to big scores in this game was the manual, in which you tap up down or down up to balance on either the front or back wheels of the board to perform endlessly long tricks once you get good at it. In multiplayer mode, it can become a lesson in taking your combos too far and ending up with no points. Finally, that soundtrack. Wow, what a huge influence on my taste in music throughout my whole life, and that is no exaggeration. Six, Tomb Raider 2. This may be a controversial choice, but at the end of the day, this is my list, and this was my favourite in the series. A little more action orientated than the first game, and I really enjoyed the more open feel to the game. No longer was Lara stuck in some dark, dingy, polygonal mess of a tomb, but places such as the Great Wall of China and Venice. Even the training in Lara's house mode is brilliant in itself. I remember hours melting away as I was trying to beat my best assault course time, unlocking the secrets within the house, and the rather questionable but always hilarious locking the butler in the kitchen freezer. Number 5, Tekken 3. I really enjoyed Tekken 2, but I feel that the pinnacle of the series in this console was Tekken 3. Again, this is a game that I just had to unlock absolutely everything. The stunning and cinematic FMV sequences and endings blew my mind. Completion with each character unlocks another, and there are even fun modes to unlock, such as Tekken Ball and Tekken Force, which is a side-scrolling beat-em-up. This is one of my favourite beat-em-ups of all time and is accessible to newcomers while remaining deep for hardcore beat-em-up enthusiasts. The graphics are stunning and a big step up from the first 2 games in the series.
You win.
Number 4, Resident Evil 1 or 2. Take your pick. I'm sorry to be sitting on the fence a bit with this one. It's a bit of a cop-out, but I just can't decide between the two. So please take your own pick here and put your favourite of the two in this spot. For nostalgia reasons, I want to put Resident Evil 1 in this spot, if I'm perfectly honest, as I just think it's so darn original. Brilliant survival horror, equipment and resource management, genuine scares at the time. I personally love the FMV sequences and the B-movie style acting. With that said, I can also happily take the argument that the second is the best in the series. For me, the atmosphere of the first game just can't be beaten. Number 3, Final Fantasy VII. There is no denying that this game is one of the greatest. In many ways it was the introduction of JRPG genre to the masses, and the production value was huge. Fantastic and gripping story that keeps you engaged from the start. I think that most would want to see this game ranked higher, but frankly, other than this game, I am not the biggest fan of the genre. Some may find 100 hours of gameplay as a really addictive and good value for money, but having to commit that kind of time to one game is just too daunting for me, especially nowadays. With that said, if anyone has missed this gem, I would highly recommend a playthrough. I loved every minute of it when I was younger and with more time on my hands. Brilliant characters, a well thought out story, emotional moments, an epic showdown with one of the greatest bad guys in all of gaming. Number 2, Metal Gear Solid. On the other end of the spectrum when it comes to gameplay hours is this masterpiece, Metal Gear Solid. This is one that won't take much more than about 6 hours to complete, but it's absolute perfection all the way. Stealth action has never been more thrilling or realistic in a kind of action movie sense as this. So many clever ideas, like finding a character's codec number on the back of the CD case, or escaping a prison by laying down in ketchup, to Psycho Mantis reading your memory card for other Konami titles, and stopping him dodging your attacks by mind reading by moving your controller to slot 2 on the system. A fully engrossing experience that stands the test of time. There is so much more to this game that I will inevitably do an episode solely on it at this point.
Snake, there's an elevator there you can take up to the ground. You'll just have to wait for the elevator to come down. You better hide somewhere.
Number 1. So finally this leads me to number 1, and it is a game that I've discovered more recently, which means that my nostalgic factor is greatly reduced with this one. It's Castlevania Symphony of the Night. When I did finally get round to it, I was completely blown away. A 2D platform title with a staggering amount of depth, including an assumed ending which is only actually about halfway point in the full game. I feel that these 2D graphics are absolutely stunning and hold up amazingly well compared to the early 3D games of the system. This is a game that has to be played to be believed, taking heavy influence from the Super Nintendo Super Metroid game, but with more RPG style elements. Even with the amount of times I've played this, I still find new things about it every time. Play this now by any means necessary, but unfortunately you will be unlikely to want to spend the nearly 200-ish pounds for an original PAL version. We were so obsessed with the new 3D technology of the console that this 2D game had a very limited print run and is very rare and extremely sought after. Although I own a couple of digital versions and even the PSP Castlevania Dracula X Chronicles, which has Symphony of the Night as an unlockable, I still had to buy some form of original copy of this game. Therefore, I own the much more reasonably priced Japanese version. Luckily, I know the game so well that the Japanese text is not an issue for my enjoyment. Now it's time for a few honourable mentions on the system.
Superb passing play. Well hit. It's hit the post. Goal kick.
And finally, just a few more games that I absolutely had to mention in this episode, but honestly can't be within the top 10 of the system's best games. Micro Machines V3, a fantastic early game for the system that is still fun to play nowadays in multiplayer. Die Hard Trilogy. I don't know what it is about this game, but I played it constantly when I was younger. There must be something in it.
Don't stay alive, stay with me. Yippee-ki-yay!
NFL Blitz 2000 is one of my favourite sports games of all time and is kind of over the top in a similar way to NBA Jam, but with the more violent American football. It's surprisingly accessible and a fantastic couch multiplayer.
First down.
Delivers! Great catch!
Colin McRae Rally, so much car handling realism for the time, and you can't deny pelting through the countryside with your co-pilot calling out the road in front of you.
Overcrest into one right. 2 left, don't cut ditch. 3 right, tightens. Square right. 3 right.
Cool Borders 2. Before the release of Tony Hawk's Skateboarding, this was the extreme sports title I would go for, and I spent countless hours playing it. And finally, WWF SmackDown 2. For those wrestling fans who didn't own an N64, this was the best game to get for the system. A speedy and simplified wrestling title. Me and my buddies played this game constantly. Anyway, that's it for this month's episode. I really hope you enjoyed it. Until next time, much love. Please look after yourselves and each other and get your geek on with JigRetro.